Hello and welcome to CIPD Bitesize. In this video, we're going to be looking at the AC 1.3 question from the 5002 Evidence-Based Practice module. Now, you are currently part of task 1, which is 7 questions, which is 415 words per question if you were to break it down in total. So you've got to manage your word count with this. Now, let's have a look at the question. Obviously, you have to reference the case study within this. So you work for Technivara, design engineering components in the electronics industry, supplying parts for computer electronics, medical, and the automotive sector. The company was founded in 1970 by Bill Swanky and is currently experiencing its 16th consecutive year of growth. So the board now feels it's time to expand the business. Bill is very involved in the day-to-day running of the company, which he likes to run in a traditional style and tends to avoid changing existing working practices. Sue Young, a people practice manager at Technivara, and although she has been with the company for 8 years, has continued with many of the people practices that her predecessors implemented, many being paper-driven. Sue is aware that the company doesn't change some of its practices. It may be susceptible to risky decision-making because the current approach of capturing and measuring people practices is weak and lacks data-driven evidence. She knows that you as a people practice advisor have more data experience using evidence-based practice effectively. She's asked you to help her understanding of how evidence-based practice is applied in organizations. She needs to provide Bill, the board, and the rest of the people practice team with a persuasive case for improving current approaches, as these are archaic and inadequate to meet the needs and demands of a modern forward-thinking business. So I've asked you to complete 2 tasks. First, to respond to the 7 questions, which is part of 1.3, and then complete a data-driven analysis. So, explain is your key verb in this one. The main principles, look out for the cheeky S with CIPD, main principles means multiple, of critical thinking, including how these might apply to your own and others' ideas to assist in objective and rational debate at Technivara. So, explain the main principles, multiple principles of critical thinking, and how, when you explain each of these principles, they might apply to your own and other people's ideas to assist in objective and rational debate. So, again, you've got 414 words. You're probably going to break this down into 2 points. So you're going to explain the principle, a part of, one principle of critical thinking, probably, and then explain another part. You could do 3, and how, and when you explain them, explain how they apply to yours and other ideas, and then how they assist in objective and rational debate. That's what you're looking at doing. So break the question down into its component parts. You lay it out here, AC 1.3, and then you write your response underneath. That's what CIPD are looking for you to put out. Now, also ensure that you've got a reference to back everything that you're saying. So when you're explaining the principles, again, reference citation, how these might apply to your own ideas, prove it. Prove how it helps by finding a case study, by finding some written information, by finding something that's there to demonstrate this benefit. That's what they're looking for you to do in this particular question. So as always, to help you, we'll quickly go through our study plan. So this is question AC 1.3. What you'd be looking at doing here is the verb is explain. Is the scenario required? Yes. So you do have to reference Technivara in this. Your word count is 414. Action point 1, main principle 1, explaining how and why. Main principle 2, explaining how and why, because it says principles. CIPD loves something which is called a cheeky S. So just make sure that you've got that. And then every time, reference, prove it, prove it, prove it, prove it. Prove your thinking with a reference and a citation. Now, here's an example of one filled in. By all means, pause it, copy this down, put it in a notebook, work out how you're going to answer the questions, stuff like that. Absolutely okay. Build your answer as you go. That's what we're looking for you to do with this particular thing. And to also help you, we've got some recommended reading, CIPD fact sheets, because CIPD loves CIPD, HR Magazine, Improving the Workplace Through Critical Thinking, and then CIPD podcast on critical thinking, which is episode 154. Don't worry, you don't need to have caught up with the other 153 to understand what's going on in number 154. You can just come into 154 clean, listen to that podcast. It's actually quite helpful in terms of how it benefits organizations, because you've got people talking about what they've done and stuff like that. Definitely one for a recommended reading. Now, also, to try and help you contextualize The question a little bit more, we like to do what we call a fictitious scenario, where we take the question and try to come at it from a different angle to try and help you understand how you could approach it when you come to the question. And for this, we're putting you on the stand. So imagine it's a jury deliberating a case. So you're a jury at a high-profile trial. Your task is to carefully consider the evidence presented by both the prosecution and the defense, analyzing the arguments and ultimately reaching a verdict. Critical thinking principles is evidence evaluation. Just as jurors assess the credibility of the relevance of the evidence, critical thinkers evaluate the quality and reliability of information. They ask questions like, is the evidence trustworthy? Does it support the claim? They use logical reasoning, so jurors must follow logical reasoning to connect evidence to conclusions. Similarly, critical thinkers use logic to identify flaws in arguments, such as circular reasoning or false assumptions. Consideration of multiple perspectives. Jurors will consider the argument from both sides to reach fair verdicts. So they'll look at it from a boss's perspective in an organization, they'll look at it from an employee's perspective in an organization. You've got to adopt an open-minded approach, acknowledging different viewpoints and seeking to understand them. Avoiding biases. Difficult, everyone has them, but jurors must be aware of their own biases and strive to be impartial. So you need to be aware of where your mind automatically goes with this and go, am I being impartial? Recognizing your own biases and countering them when you're evaluating. Now, application to this is, your own ideas. When you examine your own ideas, ask yourself, is there evidence to support my claim? Similar to how we say when you study any of the units, have I considered alternative viewpoints? Am I making any logical fallacies? Am I getting anything wrong? Am I just making an assumption for assumption's sake? Other ideas, when evaluating other ideas, is there evidence credible? Does reasoning follow logically? Is there any bias influencing the decision? So when you're reading these evidences that we've recommended, or any evidences you find yourself, ask yourself those questions. Critically evaluate it yourself. Go, does this make sense? Is this right? Should I be challenging this a little bit more? Then apply the critical thinking principles. You can engage in objective and rational debate, fostering a deeper and a better understanding, because debate isn't a bad thing. Two people in a room who disagree, it's not an argument, it's a debate. It's about putting forward ideas and challenging thinking and improving collectively. As long as you're respectful and open and honest when you've got different viewpoints, and you can use evidence as your medium to actually come to a consensus decision, that's okay. It's okay to not agree. It's okay to disagree. Not everybody has to fall in line. You don't have to agree with every decision that's made. You just have to agree that sometimes it's not your decision that we're going to move forward with. But as long as you've put your points forward and you've got their points forward and the collective agree with a particular decision, that's okay as well. So how do you apply those principles within the workplace? Absolutely best of luck with this unit. I'm sure you'll do great, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care.